let's not try to summarize all the all the different sessions that we have had today, because it would be extremely long, and it will be done anyway by the team who has been preparing for that event, so that we can share conclusions that can be worked upon, right? So that is something very important. Let me just share a few acknowledgements, because this is also a reflection on how we have organized this seminar, which we entitled International Conversation. And thank Pariki and Fadila and all the team who has been working tirelessly. A round of applause for them. Because it's our colleague from South Korea, I think, said these are the cultural workers, right, which are somewhere, everywhere in the background, right, and we benefit from them, but they are standing while we are sitting. But we have been working also, let's say, all together, and of course, the team within ADBI, starting with the Deputy Dean Chejung Beck, who has been very supportive of the event. Akbar, where is Akbar? Somewhere here, yes, who has been also allowing for this to happen, and James Korea also in support, and Dean Sonobe, who could not be here, but who's very sort of passionate, so that we can include also a creative economy among the serious economic topics, because this is a very important issue. I think we all understand in this room and in the audience which was around us, and we were more than 120 here and more than 250 online, that these issues of creative economy, somehow they are very serious, not boring, but serious in the sense that this connects with a number of deep societal issues. I think needless to explain what we heard like minutes ago about the example of South Korea, the example of Indonesia, the example of ASEAN, how much it resonates with a number of public policies, either at local level, at national level, at regional level, and at a global level. So I'm very, very happy that we could sort of touch upon such dimensions. We have been talking about creative economy now. That is where we are in the, especially with an Asia-Pacific perspective. And this is important because in the process of those events, World Conference on Creative Economy and other major festivals which are taking place all around Southeast Asia, including Indonesia, Malaysia, and globally, sometimes we don't know exactly where we are. So what has been something sort of commonly agreed implicitly during the whole process as it started back in 1718 with the impulse of Bekraf in Indonesia, was to try to create a timeline that people could rely on, could understand, so that we can sort of go back and forth in time and understand, are we getting better, are we getting poor, are we improving, are we solving part of the questions, or are we facing new challenges? So that a common narrative, hence the title Common Future, could be coined out. And I was also very happy that people could feel somehow happy to meet with each other that have not been meeting with each other for some time, and that the legacy of the first years of Bekraf and WCC is very strong and very much alive. Then fostering intergovernmental and collaboration development for creative economy. We have been showing that it is nothing easy, but very much necessary, that it requires, I would say, sophisticated approaches to creative economy do require a very unusual blend of components from deeply rooted civil society involvement, if not activism, down up to fiscal policies or financial policies that allow things to be consolidated, and that is nothing easy. Hence, also something that is very important here in the context of Jakarta is the place of creative economy within the post-pandemic comprehensive recovery framework of the ASEAN, but also beyond. And on Monday, we were launching a new book of ADBI about ASEAN transformations. And the book, the cover of the book is from a mural that was designed by community organization and children, and from Singapore, and we asked the artist, can we use it, and they were very happy and so on. But it is a bit unusual for a book of ADBI about institutional issues to have such a cover. However, people are happy, and it works because it gives a sense of ownership and shows also that these questions of creative economy, they sort of do not belong, of course, only to here and to ASEAN, but they are part of what ASEAN also can bring to the world. You're using the title of Presidency of Indonesia last year, ASEAN as epicenter of growth. Then Southeast Asia, creative economy on the move. I think we are very, very convincing examples of festivals and biennales and other approaches that are useful, I would say, including for us as, I would say, let's say, policymakers, to simplify, because it constantly triggers, it is constantly, you ask, it is asking you to be open to new ideas, right? Not to remain confined to what we know, how we have practiced in the past. And this is probably also a way to respond to a climate of transformations and to changing climates. We have touched upon also the responsibility of all the spheres of stakeholders, including tourism. Thank you very much for the very clear messages that were passed so as to contribute to more sustainable development pathways. And then last but not least, with the panel minutes ago about creative economy towards 2026 and beyond, to remind us also that sort of one positive outcome or input or output of this whole policy process has been the ability to coin 2 resolutions at the UN General Assembly, one that unfortunately was very much contradicted by the pandemic and in 2019-2020, the other one adopted last year with a very large consensus. And this means something. And our colleague from the Inter-American Development Bank, clearly, I think her message was crystal clear, and what she showcased was not so different than a number of things that we have been discussing here. So that beyond the regional aspect or the local perspective or the bottom-up or top-down perspective, we cannot forget that creative economy is also a matter of the global economy, even though we do also understand that now there are a number of hurdles and fragmentations, even though digitalization of the economy and so on and finance does offer new ways to think about creative economy. And then, of course, we had a very nice presentation of Deputy Chair of Art and Culture Foundation of Uzbekistan about the ambition and the program and the pillars, the 6 pillars of the World Conference on Creative Economy. So from Jakarta to Tashkent, beyond Tashkent, I would just like to share very, very briefly a few thoughts. First one, of course, let's continue working together so that the issue of creative economy can be further embedded into the post-2025 ASEAN priorities towards 2045 maybe, but I think what Jonathan T. Jong here referred to as part of what would be undertaken is very important, and there is probably here some collaborative work to be carried out. That's the first point. The second point, I think also we all understand that from the variety of examples that we have been showing, and I've not counted, but several dozens all in all, right? We are constantly confronted to sort of relative level of fragility when it comes to creative economy. Right? Never completely consolidated, always to be consolidated, and largely depending on the quality of players that are not spending, that are not counting the times, artists, community of artists, designers, creators, etc. And somehow what is very interesting, and this is a common denominator, is whenever I think we are able to create a space where a positive, fruitful confrontation between creation as really artistic creation, right, and creative economy and some aspects of public policy can be devised, things become interesting. right? And food for thought can be largely shared. There is food for more than for more than just us. And I think this is a very important lesson. It's not magic trick, but creative economy has a unique socio-economic, social capital multiplier effect that goes way beyond what we individually, through our own constituencies, organizations, etc., can even dare to create. And we can see that, for example, with Pak Ricky was asking our colleague that, can you bring K-pop to Tashkent, right? Even though we are very serious people, oh yeah, K-pop, who can resist, right? And I suppose that we will have to bring K-pop now to Tashkent, one way or another, and maybe other features of the Indonesian and other local aspects of culture. So beside that, fragilities, but also enduring strengths, I think is very important. Institutionally, and something that sometimes it's more difficult when you're discussing with creators, because they don't care so much about this institutional dimensions. They say, this is the boring side of policy making. But institutionally, with Malaysia chairing the ASEAN next year, with the conference, the World Conference on Creative Economy, moving from Southeast Asia to Central Asia, and we are making here a strong link between Central Asia and South Asia, including with India. I think we would be guilty together if we would not take our advantage from deepening the topic of creative economy in the context of G20, of the next or last stages of the G20 Brazil, if possible, but also in the context of the G20 in South Africa. With the African Union becoming a member of the G20, with Africa, most of the African countries, if not all of them, have been signed the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and with issues of creative and cultural goods being gradually part also of a more cooperative approach across different economic regions in Africa. Also, there is a small but. We would need to work together in a region which is less explored by the networks that are present here. So how to proceed? Few ideas, and I will finish with that. First, maybe we would take advantage of informally or formally naming a sort of a process of moving towards 2026 about how to effectively implement the resolution of last year on creative economy, but also how to strengthen the case macroeconomically for creative economy, such as in the G20, and of course not just in the G20, and including issues of creative economy and climate issues and other transformations, the Tashkent process. That is one way to prepare WCC and to move forward even after WCC. So that's one thing. Then the second point, how to further implement, I would say, or deepen the case for creative economy in, I would say, larger scale macroeconomic environments. Here, as ADBI could support the preparation and the organization of that very specific workshop, we, ADBI, could also continue building on the results of this to support and strengthen the case for creative economy. A few ideas, or we could host a more expert kind of event in the spring of next year, building on the conclusions of this session. We could also continue and explore concretely how to create a liaison group among ADB, ADBI, AIB, the Inter-American Development Bank, African Development Bank, and other multilateral development banks or financial institutions, right? Because that would be an excellent way also to plug in, building on the results of last year, G20 India, G20 Indonesia, about these issues, creative economy, so-called life or lifestyle for the environment, sustainability, then climate finance, and close the loop with ways to finance, different ways to address climate challenges locally and with the people. So with those, I think we do have both new ideas. We do have a kind of shared sort of now assessment of where we are, and we have some ideas about how to operate, which is quite nice. And I do hope that we will be not too tired and strong enough to share and build good and nice conclusions of the workshop, and have the energy, but I'm sure we have, to work together towards Tashkent Shifted Reality Conference. And I leave the floor to our dear colleague and Deputy Chair of our Foundation of Uzbekistan, Aziz Bek, with the final small surprise that we wanted to share with you. Thank you so much.